What are the things that are going through your mind right now? What kinds of questions do you have? Are there things that you are worried about with coming back to school? Because I have really, really good news for you. Everyone in our school district has spent so much time preparing and making sure that everyone feels safe. Good morning to all of my amazing second grade students. How are you today? My goodness, I have missed you so much, not just for the summer, but since March. We haven't seen each other in a long, long time. Wow, this has been crazy, huh? This has been really crazy. We have not seen each other in nearly 6 months. Well, we did see each other a little bit, didn't we? We got to see each other through those little windows. Remember that? Put up on screen little Zoom windows for them to see. So how was your summer? Did you do anything special? Did you do anything exciting? What are the things that are going through your mind right now? What kinds of questions do you have? Are there things that you are worried about with coming back to school? Because I have really, really good news for you. Everyone in our school district has spent so much time preparing and making sure that everyone feels safe, that everyone feels like they are ready to go to start the school year. And that's the greatest feeling we can all have, because if we weren't safe, we wouldn't be here right now. So we need to remember that. And I want you just to sit back. I want you just to watch. I'm going to show you a quick video here, and we're just going to just have some fun. And then if you have some questions and you're kind of wondering about certain things, that's what I'm here for. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my second grade class. This is the type of greeting that your children will need. This is the type of calm that you need to bring to your children when you see them face to face. Now, in some cases, you're going to be in person. And in other cases, you are going to be starting virtually. We have no idea at this point. And it's very much up in the air. And it's one of the reasons we're having this discussion about the guidelines this evening. But I think it's extremely important, as I stressed in webinar 2, that we are that voice of reason, that we are that reassuring voice, and remembering what our role is as a teacher. The type of conversation I would have with 6th graders might be a little bit different. For instance, in my particular situation, my fifth graders might be in a situation where they did not do the work that they should have been doing. They were not signing on all the time. They were not always doing their work. So when I see them and we come back in September, I'm going to have a conversation with them, perhaps not in the first class because we want to get settled in, but by the second class, I'm going to say to them, listen, let's be fair about things. There were some of you that were not signing on and did have the ability to do so. You just chose not to. And there were some opportunities and things that we missed in the educational process. The first month, when we get back to school, before we even answer this question, and hopefully I'll have some people who will chime in with some thoughts this evening on this question on the screen. The most important thing is for that first month, we need to be extra aware, more so than ever, that they are even more confused, they are even more concerned, and a lot of them are very scared and just confused as to what's really going on. Because for some kids, if you think about preschoolers or kindergartners, this was the first time they were ever truly in a public school experience. And we know that's not how a school year typically ends. So we have to keep that in mind. So the opening question, which I sent out to email, through email in advance, if your first week of school is in the physical classroom of your building, what do you plan to say to your students? Is there anyone who would like to chime in, and anyone who would like to offer what they would like to say? Josh knows that if nobody raises their hand at the beginning as we do the icebreaker here, he knows that I'm going to wind up calling on him, and I'll put him on the spot. But does anybody want to offer what they would like to say? Brenda, fantastic. Go for it.
Similar to yourself, I'm going to tell the students that I'm happy to see them. Be a positive role model. And also be that consistency that they need from day to day, because back since March, their lives have not been consistent. They've had a gazillion different things thrown their way. And also, I plan on being very transparent. I always have my agenda up on the board, but I want to try and cue them. This is what's coming next, because I think they have so much uncertainty about what is coming next that they need that reassurance. Now, I teach primarily 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So what I also have questions about, what I need to try and develop, is I can see my little squirrely boys that every time somebody blows their nose, they're going to say, oh, she has corona or something. So I've got to figure out how to work with that. But I just want to be reassuring, something stable and predictable for them.
You know, and I appreciate that, and certainly being, and Christy, I'll certainly call on you in just one moment. I can certainly appreciate middle schoolers at saying those types of things. Oh, that person has COVID. And it's, you know, this is a very real discussion with very real teachers here. And this is one of the greatest things about these webinars is it's teachers talking to each other. We know exactly what is going to be said in these classrooms like no one knows. No one knows how these kids are going to be reacting the day that they come back to school. What is fascinating to me, and I'm sure it may have entered some of your minds, is, to me, I think that the kids are going to be way different returning to school this time. And I know in particular, in my area, I can only speak for my population, the kids are so devastated that they're just not in school. They're devastated missing the social component. We keep seeing all these different, we've seen one webinar after another talking about all the social aspects of everything. And it is critical, but there are just a lot of kids that school is their escape. School is a place where they go, that is their safe place. And school might be better than other places they are outside of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and beyond. You know, you know those kids that they don't want to leave school. You got to kick them out, get out, and they don't want to go. And you really think about it, you probably can figure out why they may not want to leave. So I think that it's going to be a very different dynamic. To be fair, having done this for a long time, I do believe that probably about 3 weeks in, they're going to still get comfortable, and they're going to get very comfortable, and you may have to, establish your routines. Christy, please.
Yes, I'm coming into a situation where this is a new school for me, and the school where I'm going has had multiple first-year teachers for 1 year, and then that teacher has left. And so I'm coming into a group of kids who didn't even know their teacher wasn't going to come back. And so I plan on coming in with reassurances for them, reassurances that not only am I here for you now, but I'm going to be here for you for a while. And really helping to, I want to build those relationships and solidify those relationships, knowing that we can go virtual at any time. I'm going to spend that first time really getting to know those kids as much as I can and trying to build rapport with them.
That's great. And I want to actually speak on the first year teachers just for a moment, because this is really key, especially for those of you, and not just first year teachers. I love what Christy said. She said that this is a new school for her. There's a new school, and this might be a situation for some of you. What I would do is, and I've had experience where I've not just been in one school district my entire career. So you walk in, and I think one of the things that you need to say is, I was teaching last year. I went through this. I do understand exactly what you went through. I was teaching students last year, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to, it doesn't matter what grade the students were. You can just talk a little bit about your experience and what it was like. Most important is that you're going to be that calm, reassuring voice. And when you establish that in your classroom, immediately it's going to take care of a lot of classroom management issues right from the get-go. And one of the things I certainly want to say before we get into the guidelines tonight, which we're going to do in just a moment, it's really important. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues in my school about this. And our goal is, if we are returning in person for the first month, that they are getting complete training on, this is how we do the virtual thing. This is how it's done. You need to go through step by step with them. You need to explain to them that there are so many districts that went to a pass-fail thing in marking periods 3 or 4. There are some districts that didn't want to fail their students under any circumstances because they didn't know if students were compromised in some type of way. And let's be honest, how are we all compromised? We were all compromised right up here. Okay, we were all compromised up here because all of us are affected in some type of way. So it is so important, I feel, that for your first month, that you are now explaining to them, this is how it is, and it's very possible that this could happen again. I take as an example, one of the things I mentioned in one of my previous webinars, I had an unfortunate situation. I'm happy that I was the person to be able to do it, because of I was prepared, and I felt that I had the experience to do it. But I was in a Zoom meeting with a Zoom session with my 5th graders, and one of my colleagues who worked directly below me passed away from COVID. And the children who were in that session with me at the time were not aware that had happened. And if it happened in the middle of the meeting, one of the kids found out while they were in the class with me. And I know that in that particular situation, you don't try to dodge the issue. You don't try to skirt around it. You actually are direct with the children. And what I say to all of you, this is so paramount, is that you communicate with the guidance departments, with the social workers. Make sure to ask them. Be very blunt with them. Say, I would like to know. And you know what? CC your principal on it as you're doing it. So then they know that you are taking a proactive approach, you are contacting, and you know what? If I would even do that right now. So then, because administrators have so many things going on, oh, forgot about that. I need to do that right now too. Now they're going to send something out to the staff. Next thing you know, you see an email go out to the staff. If anybody needs any help, reach out to so-and-so. We have these resources available to you. You can be that person that can help out, and your administration will really appreciate it. But I always go to the guidance team and ask them for just that, guidance. I ask them, how do you speak to students in this situation? I don't ever try to act like I know all the answers. None of us should. Every single school is different, so we need to be mindful of that. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to share about the students before we move into discussing the guidelines for tonight? And questions? Lindsay, was that just a touching of the hair? Okay. Lindsay was amazing. I just have to say that. Oh, Lindsay, you did want to mention something?
Sure, I'll just say something. I just can't wait. I can't wait to tell my kids how much I love them. And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to tell my kids is that I know we're teaching music, but at the heart of all this, like, you guys being okay is the most important thing for me. And that the music and the teaching is secondary. And I think for me, that'll be my first message to them.
And you know, it's by the way, I'm even listening to Lindsay as she's saying it, it's emotional. And don't be afraid of that. Don't. It's not a bad thing. When kids see a teacher start to well up a little bit, all the sympathy comes out. I don't care who you are. They all will always have sympathy for that teacher. So no worries with that. Josh, if we can go to our slides, I have a whole bunch of questions I've received from various people. And as we're taking a look at these slides, we are going to have obviously the chat going as well. So please feel free to put your comments in the chat. Josh knows that he'll just kind of interrupt me at any given time if there are any pressing questions in addition to the many that we've already compiled from all of you. All right, so without further ado, Josh, let's take a look at the first questions we have. Stress. Is anybody here stressed? Anybody here stressed? Did anybody come here to de-stress themselves? I hope, if nothing else, in these first minutes here, you've actually had a smile on your face, and you need to do the same thing with your students. That's so critical. So what is this stress going to do to our teachers? Everybody's going to digest this in a different way. And I think it's very important that you seek out whatever resources you need to be able to help others. So one of the things I always say to people is that if your well-being is not intact, then you're going to be of no use and no help to anyone. You know, because no music teacher has ever gotten sick 2 days before the concert. No, we've never had that happen before. We've never gotten that fantastic upper respiratory infection 1 week before, and you're rocking the Z-Pack and you're praying and you're saying, please, can this just go away? And so I think it's important that you understand how you're going to cope with your own stress. So how does this affect their health and well-being? So that's a question that you would want to pose to your guidance counselors, to your administration. You need to ask that question. Don't try to feel like you need to be the expert on everything. Never be afraid to ask and use the resources of people in the district. Okay, and more than ever, I know that those people are going to be there to help you because they are all very, very concerned. Josh, if we can go to the next slide. And please, at any time, if any of you want to jump in, I have a lot of your faces here on the screen, but I can't see everybody's faces. So if you, I'm answering these questions, but if you feel that you want to add something, please just jump right in. That would be great. How does the stress affect the ability of educators to teach? This is difficult. And I feel that in a lot of ways, I feel in some ways very lucky that when I've had adverse things occur in my life, that I've always been able to keep them out of the classroom and not get anything personal. And that includes my feelings towards particular situations. It's really, really key that you do the best that you can to not express those thoughts in the classroom. I'm quite sure that the people that are attending these webinars and the conversations we've had so far, I think you're the ones that are those people who conduct yourselves in that professional manner at all times, never ever talking about things that really the kids don't need to know that particular information. Having conversations about your family that have nothing to do with them, nothing to do with school, having to do with even professional things you're doing outside of school that really have no place to be discussed in the classroom. So we have to be important. It has to be very, very important for all of us in terms of how the stress is going to affect us in the classroom, that we are not letting on too much. We don't want to have a woe is me type of thing the entire time, because then the kids are going to start to think, wow, my teacher's really stressed too. And now I'm going to be even more stressed. I think there can be an acknowledgement. I think that we can have an understanding, but I think we have to get to the point where we don't want to dwell on it too much. And again, remember, we have the greatest jobs in the world as arts teachers, because we have that ability to show that funny video. We have that ability to change the whole atmosphere just by playing a piece of music. Perhaps dimming the lights and putting on a nice quiet piano piece and letting them just reflect. You'd be amazed at how kids interpret it. One of my favorite pieces, Josh, if you can take off the screen share for a moment. One of my favorite pieces that I love to do is by Chopin. It's the Raindrop Prelude. I strongly recommend it. The Raindrop Prelude takes you through everything. It takes you through lots of emotions. It's so calm. And then what do you have in the middle? You have the storm. How are kids going to react to that? I played the Raindrop Prelude before, and even some of my toughest kids are in tears in the middle of it. And you'd be amazed at the things that come out. And this was way before all this happened. So you can only imagine some of the things that they're going to be thinking about when they listen to that particular piece of music. It's very, very powerful. Josh, if we can go back to the screen share.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, one quick question somebody has in the chat.
Sure.
Is how do we get this point to our colleagues? How to get the point across to our colleagues who do this to the determinant of their classes / students? Basically getting them to their colleagues.
Repeat the entire question. Let me just see if you can. I can actually even read it right over here. This was asked by whom?
Brenda.
By Brenda. Oh, good. Okay. So how do we get this point to our colleagues? Oh, okay. That is difficult. And honestly, my first gut reaction, it's the responsibility of administration. And I know, and I see some of you that are even, I don't even need to see some of your videos right now. I know some of you might be eye rolling when you say that, but you need to understand that really falls under the responsibility of administration. That's going to be my answer to that. I think that the people that you know well who need that type of support, I think you should certainly be there for them. I think that here's a suggestion I could make is you could even propose to your administration. I'd be willing to discussed this with people. I feel really confident about going back in the classroom. I've been training for this all summer. I've gone to XYZ webinars, and I feel that I'd really like to talk to people. There are some districts that are very, very open to that, some not so much. And it all depends on the situation that you are in. Every district is very, very different. What I will definitely say, and it comes back to the guidance department thing again, is with this particular topic, I would definitely ask before you do, unless you're dealing with people who are like close friends of yours. That's a different situation. If it's someone who you're really, really close to, then there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, certainly my own colleagues, I've probably talked to at least conservatively 25 different colleagues about this throughout the course of the summer. Some of them are doing well and some of them are simply not. And everybody's processing it differently. But I think when it comes to anything that's going to be on a school, on a district level, tough, very, very tough, and very, very frustrating, because I will just very carefully say that some administrators have certain strengths and they also have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. So did I answer that well? Was I good with that? Did I give the good political answer there? Okay. You know, you have to understand, and the thing that you can't lose sight of, you know, I'm a teacher, and I, you know, this material is accessible to the public, and I can speak from my own experiences, but I can tell you with that situation, I can tell you immediately, I would go right to my administrator, regardless of how my feelings are towards that person. In my case, I have a great relationship with my administration, but that's just me. So, Josh, thank you. Thanks for mentioning that. If you can go back to the screen share, how does the stress affect the quality of the education provided to the students? Okay, so I think that you need to think about, I think what's happening now is, so this question comes in, and the question I kind of want to say in response to that person is, well, were you thinking about any type of stress that any children were having prior to COVID-19? Did it take COVID-19 for you to realize that kids actually do get stressed? And I hate to be that blunt about it, but everybody gets stressed. We all get stressed, and kids go through so many different types of emotions throughout the course of, forget about an entire school year. I'm talking on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, a daily basis, and an hourly basis, that things happen. You'll have kids in class that you can see on their faces that something's wrong. You see something is very, very wrong, and it might have something to do with school, might have something to do with something going on at home. More than ever, the human element needs to come into effect, so then these students can hopefully open up to you. And then if it's a situation where you know it's going to go in types of directions where you're not going to be able to effectively help them, you need to get those people to the right people. Lisa, go ahead, please.
Speaking to that, one of the thoughts that I had, and just actually today or even yesterday, just thinking through, you know, we tend to want to be there for our students, and most effective educators will say, you know, you don't address personal or private conversations in public. In other words, if you have a moment, pull the student aside, talk to them, see what's going on, if they're willing to speak to you. I think it's going to be very difficult to do that in the upcoming semester and in the upcoming opening, because of just the physical distancing. So I think what I'm looking for is a strategy to try to make that connection with the student where they feel comfortable in this space, but 6 feet is pretty far, you know, to have that rapport. So I guess I'm looking for some sort of brainstorming of a solution to that.
I got a solution.
Ariane, please go ahead, Ari.
So in my classroom, I have a whiteboard and it's sectioned off into 3 different spots. All the kids can write their name on a Post-it note and put it on the back side of it, the sticky side. And on the spots, it says, hi, I'm doing great today. I'm not doing so great. Like, can you check in on me? Or I really need to talk to someone. So usually once a week, I check to see where everyone's Post-it notes are. And that's a great way you can address them, so that way you have that space and you know who wants to be spoken to or who's going through it and doesn't want to be spoken to.
It's great. You know, and especially doing that and trying to protect their confidentiality to the best of your ability. It's a really, really outstanding tool. Melissa.
This is plausible in the virtual world as well. You can use this in a hybrid model. That's actually my check in attendance question daily throughout the COVID shutdown. They want to talk. They want to tell you what's going on. Google form, you can do it right as a Google form, and it's still anonymous. So it's no one else can see their responses as long as you turn that off. And it's been kind of eye-opening, the fact that they'll open up that way. Some of them won't open up talking to you, but put them behind a screen, they'll share what's going on.
Right. No, that's great. And I want to actually just address for a moment the 6 feet thing. So I can tell you right now, and again, this is not opinion, because I spend every hour of every single day at this point, not just in terms of preparing for these webinars, but also to be as current as possible. And the studies that just came out, and by the time someone listens to this webinar 5 years from now, they might be laughing at me as I say this, but that now the studies that are out, and remember, this did not come from Tim Rausenberger. Okay, good. I had to get that little plug in because I'm not really supposed to talk about COVID-19, but there are now studies that have come out that have clearly stated that it is more of an airborne thing. So 6 feet, do the math. I mean, if you're in a classroom, one of my favorite memes I saw recently, and it was actually coming off of what a politician had said, and it had to do with really that people are not understanding that we're going to be in a room for 7 to 8 hours with germ spreaders. And that's just the cold, hard reality of it. And I think that now that I think a lot of the stakeholders have spoken, now you're starting to hear the educators speak. One of the things I want to mention, I don't want to forget to say this, and I will absolutely send this to you. Josh, I don't know if you have this information with you. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, and maybe you can even put it in the chat. This Friday, July 17th at, I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern time, the NEA, National Education Association, is having a huge webinar. They had a webinar last Friday, and the interest was so high, they sold out. So they are doing a second one. And there are some of you in here that may have had no idea that that even took place, but it would be great to check, to check that out. The other thing I also want to mention to you, if you didn't get a chance to check your email yet, already in your email prior to this session, I sent you a Google Drive folder. It is open. You don't have to request permission. It has tons of resources. My goal is to ultimately have resources from all 50 states as well as various countries. I already am off to a start where I have about 10 states or so with general information, information from NAFME, National Association for Music Education, and there's just tons of information out there. If anybody was wondering, as of now, this may have changed, but as of right now, as I speak, the aerosol study from Colorado State University has not been released yet regarding instrumental music. It might actually be released as I'm presenting the session. It was supposed to come out on the 10th. I'm not sure if they ran into some difficulties, but hopefully that'll be coming out. And the other study is going to be for singing and the effect that it has just with singing and speaking. And that study comes out on July 25th. So just a little bit of information in case you were not aware of that. I have just chock full of dates just floating around in my brain with everything else here that I'm trying to keep up with. So Josh, could you go back to the slides? Let's take a look at some of the other questions we have that have come in here. All right, next slide. Okay, so detrimental effects. What is this going to do to the students from an academic, social, and mental standpoint? You can take the slide off for that one. So we have to remember that the education of all students across the country in every form of education, college included, was compromised. It was compromised over the course of 2 to 3 months. There are some districts where you absolutely had children who had all of the means to be able to get online. They were able to keep up with their work. They were able to continue doing school as if they were in school. In other words, they were learning new content. A lot of schools opted for another model, which was to do review work. So they would take concepts that had been recently taught, or even things that may have gone all the way back to marking period 1. And there was a lot of work that was just review. In our case, ours was actually interesting. In our arts department, music, art, theater, and dance, our students actually, it was kind of cool. They had a mixture of, some review, but a lot of new things. And a lot of the lessons were really fun. I mean, my first lesson that I taught to the kids was about Louis Armstrong. And that's not necessarily something I would have done in the class. And it was fun. I mean, because me being able to, you know, what a wonderful world, you know, to be able to do that for the kids, it was great, you know, and they loved it during the Zoom session. And Mr. R, how did you do that? And it was cool for me also as a trumpet player to be able to show that. But in some way, everyone was compromised. One thing I will say for all the music educators out there, never, ever forget this. This is something I've lived by for 25 years. When you're with your students in the classroom, virtual, up on a hill, it doesn't matter where, in a boiler room. I've taught in a boiler room before. Doesn't matter where you are. Just teach them music. That's it. It doesn't matter what the music is. There's so many people who are so concerned about, well, I have my recorder curriculum. I have to do the Orff instruments and present them in this manner. I have these 3 choral pieces and I have to do, no. If you don't get to it, life will go on. Really, believe me, I know that may seem shocking to some people. And I know that that's really tough for some of us out there. We have a lot of experienced educators, and you have your way. You have your curriculum that you've had in place for X number of years, and you know it works. And now you have to be out of your comfort zone. But there's no harm in it. You take something like the line riders. How many of you, by raising your hand, know what the line riders are? Anybody know what the line riders are? Oh, I've just given you an invaluable tool here. Make sure to YouTube line riders. The name of the gentleman who put it together, he goes by the moniker Doodle Chaos. The line riders, he takes great pieces of classical music, and if you pull one up, what he's done is he basically makes all these crazy ski slope type things, and there are these little people on skis, and they're flying all over the place on the ski slopes. One of the greatest ones is in the Hall of the Mountain King. So think about in the Hall of the Mountain King how bum, 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 bum. It starts off very, very slow, and then we know how frantic it gets at the end. The kids, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you this. The kids go crazy at the end. And the way that I do it with my kids, I always did it on Zoom sessions, is usually you had 2 skiers. One would have a red scarf on, one would have a green or a blue scarf. And I said, and then what it is there's a finish line. So you have to say, all right, everybody, who's got red? Who's got green? And when I would do this in the classroom, I actually had one of my teachers ran into the room and said, "Is everything okay?" Because the kids were screaming so loudly because they were like, red, 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 green, green, green. But again, what are we doing here? And here's how Doodle Chaos was so brilliant. In some of the videos, as you're going along, he has measure numbers. As you're going along, he has dynamics. As you're going along, you can see certain types of things. Oh, with accents, he'll have a little bump. Just sheer brilliance. So if you're just doing music, it doesn't matter what the music is, it's going to be beneficial to the kids. Josh, if you can go back to the slides. Ah, there we go. Pull up that lawn rider. Yeah, let's put that up on the screen for a minute. Okay, we're not going to play it though because I don't want to be flagged today. Okay, but that's what it looks like. There's a perfect example. Josh reading my mind. Okay, so there's measure number 50 and fortissimo, and you can see he's upside down right now. And I think in most of the videos, he knew what he was doing because he he would have the sleigh go flying. So at the very end, it was just the person just like, just all over the place, just flying around on the screen. It is so much fun to watch. You will love those. And he's one of them, but there are a lot of people who've created these. And yes, you can create these on your own. The software does exist. You can create these on your own. They take a lot of time, but they can create them on your own. All right, Josh, if you can get to the back to the slides. And if you guys can give a nice big little shout out to Josh he's just so amazing. Really. Okay, so how do students and teachers address the long-term effects of being stressed out? All right, if we can take the screen share off. So this is not going away anytime soon. It doesn't matter how we go back to school. Everybody is going to be affected in some way for a long time, specifically our students. And unfairly, you will have some people in your community who are going to be very aggressively expecting you to fix every single problem in the world. And it's not fair. It's not fair. There's no other way that I can say it. And it's unfortunately the way that it is. Someone recently posted online, since when did we become babysitters? Since when did we become a babysitting clinic? Do you want the cold, hard reality, my friends? We've always been. Okay, and I'm not saying that, I'm not bashing anyone here. That's just the cold, hard reality. Person gets a job. They get a job where they can work each day from 8 to 2. They may not get the job that's from 8 to 5. They may do that to avoid childcare costs. Why do they do that? Because they know that the child is going to be in school. Why do some parents not work until the child is 5 or 6 years old? Or in some cases, maybe even waiting until 7 or 8 till they know that their child is comfortable going to school, and then they go back to work to try to make some money, and they may have to do that to even offset childcare costs. It's going to be truly, truly fascinating. The message that's out there, this is not opinion, this is fact. The message that's out there right now as we speak, and it's been said by too many people, that people need to get back to work, people need to get back to work, people need to get back to work, i.e., they need to get back to work, so they need to have a place where they can dump their kids. That's what it comes down to. And it's a very, very challenging situation. That's a toughie. That's really, really tough, and you have to tread lightly with that. I will not be surprised if some of you are in that situation where parents are contacting you. And if parents are contacting you about district-related things, my first guess, do not respond right away. Contact your administrator. I just got this email. or forward the email to the administrator. I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do with this. And I guarantee you 99% of the time, the administrator will take care of it. They'll take care of it on their own. I can't say 100% of the time because I have had moments in my career where the administrator has said, with certain situations, you need to take care of this. Okay? You all need to be aware, and I'm going to address it a little bit later on in the meeting. You need to be aware of, if you have a union in your district, in your state, every place is a little bit different. Some of you do operate under collective bargaining agreements. Some of you do not. And I'm going to keep it very real for some of you out there right now, especially some of the newer people. Some of you just heard CBA, collective bargaining agreement, and you don't even know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know, you need to educate yourself. You need to know what a collective bargaining agreement is. You need to understand that I had a teacher, I had a teacher, a newer teacher, someone in another state who had contacted me about something. And I said to them, well, check your district contract. And the person said, but I have my own contract. I said, what? I said, no, you don't. I said, your school, your district has a contract. You do not have your own. Yes, I do. I received a piece of paper that said what my salary was. I said, yes, you did receive that. That is absolutely accurate. And that's right, because your salary is differing from other people and because of whatever step you're on. But there is this collective bargaining agreement and you need to find out. And some of you may not even have that collective bargaining agreement in PDF form. You may only have a hard copy, so maybe you need to ask the appropriate people for that information. And I'll take that a step further. You might have schools where there's certain documentation at schools. An example might be media release forms. Okay, things having to do with media release, having to be able for children to have their likeness shown, whether it's their name, their face, either or. And the consent being given by parents. There are some districts out there, I have been in situations before where there were places that didn't have that information online. It wasn't available, and they only had them in the main office. Well, that's of no use to us if we're in virtual land. So these are more things that you need to certainly think about. See a lot of notes going on tonight. This is good. I'm glad. I do feel happy, at least that you're getting a lot out of this. I can see, and that makes me very, very happy. Josh, if you can click back to the other questions. Okay, we can go to the next one. All right, controversial topics. This is going to be the only one I'm going to do with controversial topics. But you know what? I had several people that asked these questions, and I said, you know what? I want to put these up here. When will we get the same respect as other professions? And then next, is there something we could do or not do to earn respect as an educator? You can take this off the screen. First of all, you have to give respect to earn respect. That's the first thing. You have to give respect to earn respect. The second thing, and I can attest to this, if you are conducting yourself as a professional and you are presenting high quality content to your children in class, you won't have any issues. You're just not going to have issues. And I know that some of you are saying, but, yes, I have had the situations in my career where I finished the day and there are 27 emails waiting there from parents. Been there, okay? Done that. Some of you are there every single day, and I totally understand. But I can tell you right now that if you entered this profession and the only thing that was important to you was to try to earn respect, you entered the wrong profession. Because unfortunately, there are so many people that do not understand how difficult it is that what we have to do on a day-by-day basis. And I am not going to be, because this is not something that's productive. One thing I do not like at all in conferences and webinars is when a person gets up on the pulpit and then they start to say, and you know, we're music teachers and we're this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, because you know what? That's all well and good, but it didn't change anything. It didn't help anything. What reinforcing to all of us what we already know, how great we are at what we do, that we are utmost professionals, and what we bring on an everyday basis is, in some of our minds, more important than anything else a child is going to receive. So the way I always approach my classrooms is that you are going to go through an experience, 37-minute experience, 45-minute experience, and to get it to the point where, as I had, and it was a wonderful moment. One of the greatest things about the virtual teaching would be when you'd have this. Let me show you. So little Johnny is here in front of the monitor, you know, he's over here, okay? And you see this. This is what's going on. Yeah, it's that parent who's kind of in the background. Anybody have that happen with any of their sessions? Yeah, you have that parent. Hey, parent, welcome to my classroom. Welcome. Yeah, this is what we do. Yeah, you know what? While I'm teaching your child right now, I can't go to the bathroom, and I need to go to the bathroom right now. And guess what, parent? 37 minutes from now, I have another Zoom session. Guess what I can't do? I still can't go to the bathroom. I'm not going to be able to go to the bathroom for the next 3 hours. And I work somewhere in the school where I don't have a colleague nearby. There's no aide in my classroom. Okay? So we're always going to be at a deficit in that type of way. Why focus on that negative? It is what it is. And here's what I know. I know that when kids come into my classroom, they love coming in and they don't want to leave. And if you've done that, then you did your job. You did your job to the absolute best of your ability, because you're a compassionate, caring, professional human being who has so much that you can offer to them, and so much more than just anything that has to do with the arts. So that's my answer to that. And that's where, you know, if you look at those questions, Josh, can you put those questions back up there again just for a moment? The previous slide. Yeah. I mean, if you really get down to it, when are we going to get the respect? There's a negative connotation associated with that. It's not something that's going to be it's something that can almost come off as being a little bit whiny, and it's never, you're not going to ever look good saying something like that. So and I'll even go one step further. Be careful about what you're posting online with that. I've seen some forums lately that have gotten tremendously nasty, really nasty, really negative, and people attacking each other, and that's not getting us anywhere. Josh, if we can go to the next one. And again, for anybody who's just popped in, if you have anything you want to say at any given time, please jump in. I don't want to be yapping the entire time if there are things that you want to mention. Questions we cannot answer, and these are things that you want to pose to your districts. So if a teacher with 150 students, they contract COVID, who's going to pay for the tests? How are the parents being notified? Pose the questions to the districts. A lot of these questions right here are not your concern. The only thing that would be a concern for you is what might have to come potentially out of your pocket. If you can take it off the screen, Josh. Don't concern yourself and worry about those types of things. That's administration's and the district's responsibility, okay, to take care of those things. Now, bringing it to their attention, now you're being proactive, and that's a good thing to do. But I wouldn't get into any of those things whatsoever. And one thing about masks, because I have seen some people that I have to say, actually have had the gall to say, you know, well, they're going to make us wear masks and we have to pay for them. I mean, really? We probably all have masks anyway. Just bring your mask to school. Now, if you're in a situation where they're asking you to get some type of specialized mask with, you know, plexiglass all over it and all these different crazy things, oh boy, I had to. Last night I sent Josh a few videos of some of these things, and the only thing I can do at this point is just laugh at some of these inventions that are coming up, because I think that everybody's being safe, but I think that some of the things just look completely ridiculous. I mean, when you're going into class and you're dressed like an astronaut, it's taking a whole new meaning of protection. And you know, I think that in terms of the mask, I think, you know, it's just one of those things. Don't be that whiny person in the district. Don't be that whiny person in the school. There are plenty of people in your school that will take care of that just fine. You don't have to be that person, okay? We have plenty of those people in the school that are more than capable. Josh, if we can go back to this, because I'm fully aware of the time right now. If we can go to the next slide. This is a good one. I really, really enjoyed these a lot. I never thought about this until these just came in. Questions the green one, yes. Questions we cannot answer. Substitute teachers. So substitutes teach in multiple schools. What if they are diagnosed with COVID? Never even thought about that. So that's something to certainly pose to your administration. So how's that going to work? So the person potentially has COVID. Now they're going to go in and infect 5 schools in 5 days. So that's a consideration. And then the next one, and this is a big problem that school districts are starting to realize. Where is the district going to find a substitute teacher who's going to work in a classroom full of exposed, possibly infected students for substitute pay and no benefits? You can take it off the screen, Josh. So, I mean, let's go even one step further. Think of the full-time teachers out there that don't want to go back. And they're going to start using their sick days right away. First day of school, they're going to start using their sick days. They're going to have a medical leave and may have, we had someone in webinar 1, actually, wonderful, wonderful person, contributed so much to the webinar, mentioned towards the end of the webinar how inspired she was, and ironically had just received a retirement package from her district. And she had said that after watching the webinar, it was really wonderful thing. She said she was so inspired, she thinks she wants to go back to school, but she had to really think things through. And what ultimately happened was she had to take into consideration that the person she lives with is immunocompromised. And they just couldn't take that risk. And she sent me the most beautiful email just to thank me for the webinar and to say this is the direction I decided to go, and I've decided to retire. And I actually said to her, and I hope, I don't think she's here tonight, but I even said to her, I said, you know what, you're the type of person, though, hopefully you'll come to these future webinars and be involved, because we need that person's expertise. We need people that are going to be able to guide us through this. So great stuff. Josh, if you can go back to the screen. Next one. So opening of school questions for administration. Again, more things to be proactive. How's the information going to be disseminated to the community? And then, are you as a teacher going to be required in any way to distribute anything related specifically to information that ultimately comes back to COVID-19? I'm not talking about everyday responsibilities. I'm talking about things that have to do with expectations in your classroom. Are you allowed? This is a good question I just thought of. Are you allowed to actually, if masks are optional, are you actually then allowed to require kids to have masks in your class? I have very, very mixed opinions on that. Very mixed thoughts that I'm not going to share in an open forum right now. But I will tell you that that's a biggie. And what should teachers say to their students during the first week? Meaning, what do administrators want the teachers to say? Ask. So I just gave you the greeting at the beginning. I talked to you as if I was talking to my second graders. That's how we opened up tonight's webinar. But are there specific things that the administrators want the teachers to say? And then, of course, you need to figure out how you're going to adapt that accordingly to your population. I teach pre-K to 6. So the way I'm going to talk to 4-year-olds is certainly a lot different than I'm going to talk to 11-year-olds. All right. Next screen, please. And this will be the last one for tonight as we're wrapping up here. Educator employment concerns. So how are you advocating for your own safety to administration while also trying not to lose your job? This is a very important one, especially those of you whose jobs are not protected for whatever reason. You're not a tenured teacher. And I have to go a step further, even if you are a tenured teacher, because districts can always change the requirements of what is and is not taught in school districts, i.e. arts positions. And if a position is eliminated and you are not certified to teach in any other areas, things can get very interesting. I'll just say that much. Things can get very interesting even if you are a tenured teacher. I have known of tenured teachers before who were removed from their positions because the content area was eliminated, outright eliminated. For instance, if it was orchestra, for instance, let's you say you taught orchestra and they eliminated orchestra. Well, if that person doesn't feel comfortable teaching band, or they have not made the room, or whatever the situation may be, or maybe they don't have the certification, maybe they only have an orchestra only certificate. I don't think there's such a thing, but I could be wrong. So that's something you need to be aware of. Is it something that you need to advocate for yourself, or is it something that you probably want to do through a union? Okay, again, through a union in terms of covering yourself. And then who should I contact with direct questions about all things relating to my occupation, meaning about things for me in the classroom? Once again, you're going to be referring those things to someone at a union type level, or there might be a designated person in the district, someone perhaps with human resources you would want to go to as well. All right, Josh, if you can take that screen share off. So at this point, we're just wrapping up here tonight. And did it feel like it went by quickly? Good. Okay. That's a good thing. That's always a good sign. And my little pitch here is, if you ever think that your concert doesn't have enough material, you're good. Don't ever overprogram with your concerts. When you start making a 2-hour concert and everybody feels like they're on Gilligan's Island, people get bored. Okay, make your concerts 50 minutes long. So then at the end of the concert, the first thing that a parent says to you is, I wish it would have gone longer. I wish it would have gone longer. That's exactly what you want to hear. That's a sign of a good concert, and that's usually the sign of a good class or a session. Josh, there were some things that you wanted to mention for webinars 4 and 5.
Yes, let me just pull that up. So it's not the one. So the last few ones we have are webinars 4 and webinars 5. Webinar 4 is the pros and cons of virtual performances, video submissions and lessons for differentiation and special education. In the beginning next time, I'll be starting, Tim and I are putting together this awesome video to show you how to do, if you have to do a virtual project for your school, if it's chorus, band, orchestra, a small ensemble, you just want to do a great video with your kids, whatever you want to do, this video is going to explain everything with basically the most cost-effective materials. On the computer that I'm using right now, I don't have the best software in the world, and that's what I use to make this virtual project. So if you don't have the most advanced stuff, that's completely okay. We're going to show you exactly how to do it in the video. And for webinar 5, creating a live or virtual arts festival, art, theater, and dance. We're going to go through some of our own videos. Tim has an awesome video that he did for his school. I have one for mine. And we're going to show you some different things in there and how you can plan for that. So you can see just basically how the process works involving getting the festival started and creating everything. And you can go ahead, Tim.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So here I have a few exciting announcements here as we wrap up for tonight. Yeah, there you go. As we wrap up for tonight. So first off, for webinars 4 and 5, we're going to do something new for webinar 4. If you notice, we had 2 different topics there. One of them has to do with the pros and cons of the virtual performance. That one, I will tell you that Josh is an expert when it comes to that. He is outstanding. We have been working tirelessly on a video that's going to be released prior to webinar 4. And Josh takes you from the beginning to the end of how you do this whole virtual performance thing and how time consuming it is. It's very, very time consuming. It will then give you a video. It's going to be for you. It's going to be a lot more for your administration. So then you can take that video and say, here, please watch this. Please watch that it takes 50 hours to do a 4-minute video. Okay, and here are the steps as shown by this expert as I professionally developed myself over the summer at the Getting It Done webinar. Okay, or we have the other topic that has to do with modifications and differentiation for special learners, students with special needs, and I am very, very proud to say that some of my favorite classes I teach on a daily basis are my children with autism. I have quite a few of them, and I tear up when I think about them. I miss them very, very much. But what we're going to do is we're going to convene here in the main room, the main ballroom. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to, for everybody who signed up for webinar 4, you're going to get a separate form. And I'm going to ask you to select which of the 2 is your preference that you would prefer to be in. And what we have the ability to do, which is so cool, is I can actually input all of your information. And by the click of a button, you're either going to be with Josh and he'll take you through everything on his end, or you're going to be with me. And we'll do that for a while, and then we'll reconvene at the end. Just so you're aware, and I did not even know until recently about this, but this is an option that you have available to you on Zoom. It's already there. Okay, it's just a matter of just finding and going through the settings. It's an amazing, amazing tool to have that breakout room. And it doesn't just have to be 2 rooms. It can be many different rooms. You can go into many different types of places. I know I did a session recently where they actually broke us into 10 different groups. So it was very, very cool. For webinar number 5, I will send out the virtual arts festival that we actually released to our community. And I'll send that out to you soon. Along with those resources. Please, if you have resources and you have PDF documents, anything that you can share, send it to gettingitdonepodcast@gmail. If you send it to the email address, I will add it immediately to the folders. Anything that comes in, just keep sending it to me, and I have no problem. Please share that folder with other people so we can have these resources available in just one nice, tidy place that people can go to be able to access things at any given time. So the little surprise I have for you tonight, I know that last week we ran a little bit long, and I know that I think some of you may have felt a little bit guilty about not wanting to leave the webinar early. And I know that some of you, life happens and you may have places that you need to get to right now. But one of the things I would like to offer to all of you is we're going to actually do a post-webinar, just an open forum about anything. And so any questions or anything, it doesn't have to be about tonight's topic, just to have an open discussion. And, you know, you can, whenever you need to leave. But quite honestly, I have nowhere to go tonight. Yeah, I have nowhere to go tonight. So if you want to stick around for a while and just kind of be part of the discussion and just chime in with different questions you have about literally anything, it would be a great thing. We're going to do this for the next 2 weeks as well. Okay, so we can respect your time. And I know the great Ken Odessa, in just a moment, he is going to chime in. He's got a few things that he wants to talk to all of you about. But at this point, the webinar itself is coming to a close. You don't have to go anywhere if you're going to stick around. The Zoom meeting will stay here, but you can magically just disappear on your own. So thank you to everyone for being here tonight. You were all so amazing. And when we go into the open forum, that's when the recording part will end. All right. So thank you, everyone. And as I always say at the end of all of my podcasts, peace.